I don't know about you, but I'm ready to elect a new president of the United States of America. And I want to tell you why. And it just isn't some blind partisanship or some political diatribe. It all starts with the Ohio story. And I think it is very interesting. When I decided to go back into politics and run for governor of Ohio, I went in and took a look at what was happening. And you know what I found? It was the old tax and spend. You tax, you spend, you get yourself in the hole, you tax more, you spend more. And the bottom line is you don't face your real problems. You just put them off for another day. Politicians running for the door just to try to be popular. We were overregulated. We were unpredictable. And we just weren't a place for job creation. The job creators across the country were not very interested. In fact, we ranked 48th in job creation over time in the great state of Ohio. When I entered office, we had an $8 billion budget hole. And when you look around the country, it's a pretty amazing number when you compare it to other states. And in Ohio, it was unprecedented. $8 billion in the hole, and people said there's no way to deal with this. Well, we also had a total of 89 cents in our rainy day fund. And one of the staffers always sent a check for 89 cents to claim that he doubled the rainy day fund in the state of Ohio. And over the last 4 years, we had lost 400,000 jobs. People were discouraged, people were down, families were hurting, too many children in poverty. And at the same time all of that was happening, Wall Street was looking to downgrade the credit of the state of Ohio. And you know that's a devastating blow. For those that have credit cards, they downgrade your credit, you know what that means, and that's where Ohio sat. Well, I came in because I'd been in politics before. You know, I'd been in Congress for 18 years. In '97, I was one of the chief architects of the balanced budget. And it was that agreement. And by the way, that was a budget that got done not because of Bill Clinton, but because of the Republicans in Congress. Let's set the record straight on that. And we faced our problems, and we balanced the budget, and we had the largest surplus in modern history and paid down the largest amount of the national debt in the history of our country. And when I came into this job, I said, you know what? Who cares a lot about politics? Why don't we just look at our problems square in the eye and fix them? And I'd spent a couple years thinking about this before I'd even decided to run. And let me tell you what one of the biggest problems we have in the country is, in both parties. Playing political games, taking care of your buddies. Okay, let me tell you what you do when you're in government. You act just like a mom or a dad does in a family. You got a problem? Look it square in the eye, take it on, and try to fix it. And cut out all the politics. And the same holds true for the United States of America because, as you know, the tremendous amount of debt in this country does, in fact, threaten the next generation. And I've got 12-year-old daughters, and I want people to start standing up for my daughters, and I'm standing up for my daughters, and I know you want to stand up for your grandchildren to get this thing under control to make America strong again. So we avoided all the political choices, and we went right at it with my colleagues in the legislature. They were willing to take a new direction, a new way here in the 21st century. So we took on the tough political issues. We reformed our prison system. We reformed our health care system. We reformed our education system. Let me tell you what we did with health care. You know, for 25 years in the state of Ohio, if mom and dad wanted to stay in their own home, there wasn't any money to support them, so they had to go into a nursing home. And what we said, if mom and dad are comfortable enough and healthy enough to stay in their own home, they should be able to stay there. We should give them the resources to do it. We broke the nursing home lobby that had ruled the legislature for 25 years. Now mom and dad can stay in their own home where they're healthier and happier at 1/5 of the cost. You see, that's really making government work the way it ought to be. And we privatized our economic development operation. Why? I mean, you got to move at the speed of the business, not at the speed of the statute. So we took economic development fundamentally out of the state of Ohio, and now we have a not-for-profit where people wake up every day with creative ideas about how to create jobs. And we also cut taxes when we had this $8 billion hole. We lowered the income tax, and we killed the death tax because no one should have to visit the undertaker and the Ohio Tax Department on the same day. So this $8 billion hole is now gone. And the reason why we needed to cut taxes and not raise taxes to fill that hole was because Ohio needed to compete. This is not complicated. There is not one CEO who talks to me who says, I'm thinking about coming to Ohio, can you raise my costs? Any more than any small business or large business in Ohio that looks to the federal government and said, how about taxing me more, or how about regulating me more? We have to become more competitive, and that is exactly what we have tried to do in the state of Ohio. And frankly, I followed a policy and a formula that I learned all the way back in 1976, and of course as a kid just growing up in a blue-collar town about common sense. But this was a formula: balanced budgets, reduced taxes, streamlined regulations, entitled Ronald Reagan. And that's the guy that brought this to us. And when we move off of that path, we seem to lose, and when we're on that path, we tend to win. So where are we today in Ohio? Well, not only do we have a balanced budget, but we've got over $250 million in our rainy day fund, 89 cents to $250 million. Our taxes are lower, but not low enough. So every day I wake up thinking, how can we get them lowered? And we're going to fight to lower our taxes. We streamlined our regulations. And when Standard & Poor's and Moody downgraded the entire, well, France and Italy and Spain and Greece and the United States, Ohio had its credit improved as a result of the work that we did. We went from 48 in job creation to number 6 in the country and the #1 job creator in the Midwest in a short 15 or 16 months by following this formula. And we continue to reform. We continue to reform. We build our own independent energy policy. If Washington can't figure out how to do energy and give us independence, we're going to figure it out in Ohio. We're not going to wait around for those folks in Washington. We continue to reform health care. We continue to reform government operations and in education. We are saying no more social promotion. No third grader gets promoted to the 4th grade if they cannot read. Teach them to read. And by the way, we increased the number of school vouchers in Ohio from 15,000 to 60,000, and we've taken the cap off of charter schools. Choice is alive and well in the state of Ohio. Teach for America is about ready to start in Ohio. And I want to call out the mayor of Cleveland, a friend of mine, Democrat mayor. He, working with the business community and the Republican legislature and the governor of the state of Ohio, we've got some of the greatest urban school reform in America with accountability and choice, and at the same time an ability to help the teachers who do great jobs, but not to allow the ones that don't do a very good job to remain in those classrooms. This mayor's shown great courage. Now this is all good. This is all good stuff, but there's only one problem. I got the wind in my face in Ohio. I would like to have the wind at my back. Now, you know, I like Barack Obama personally. I've spent time with him. I played golf with him. I've been to a basketball game. I like him. But I don't think he or the administration has a clue as to how this economy works. They wake up on Monday and try to figure out what to do on Tuesday. They do not understand risk. They do not understand investment. And I'll tell you something, they better stay away from class warfare. Class warfare has been tried in this country. I remember George McGovern going to give $1,000 to everybody in every family, and then Al Gore tried it, and John Kerry tried it. You know, being the son of a mailman, there's one thing I knew. I knew that if I worked hard enough, I could grow up to be rich. And nobody should beat me up for my innovation, my creativity, and the fact that I sacrifice. And this idea that we're going to pummel people who are successful is... You see, I've been in business like Mitt Romney. I've got to let you in a little secret. I don't think I'm ever voting for anybody for president who hasn't run something. Because if you don't know how to run something and stand up and produce something and have a bottom line, you know, it's pretty hard to be the commander-in-chief, and that's being illustrated today. So, you know what, the president is Talking about raising capital gains taxes, that's taxes on risk takers. Talking about raising taxes on the people in the country who are at the top. Washington doesn't need any more revenue, and we don't need any more division. The EPA, my goodness, there's an operation that has been out of control, overzealous, over-regulating. The Dodd-Frank legislation has stymied banks. It's hurt small businesses. And you know what's happening, and you know the deficits are the highest we've ever seen. What's happening is business people, particularly small business people who are the engine of economic growth, they're paralyzed. They don't know what they're going to get from Obamacare. They don't know what they're going to get from tax policy. They don't know what they're going to get from regulatory policy. I'll tell you what Mitt Romney brings us. First of all, when he was governor of Massachusetts, they went from 51st, counting D.C., in job creation to 30. He created tens of thousands of jobs. His work at Bain Capital, and I wish the Democrats could make up their mind whether they like Bain or don't like Bain, but his work at Bain Capital taught him about how you create jobs. And you know, you talk about management. He took a failed, on the verge to bankruptcy Olympic Games, and he fixed it and gave us a great Olympics, which was in and of itself showed his ability to manage. You know, we come together as a family. Just saw my buddy Rick Santorum up here. We're going to hear from Rand Paul, or we've heard from him already, okay? We're going to see them. But we are one family. And let me tell you what I think about on morality. You got to create jobs. And I'll tell you why. When mom and dad cannot work, the marriage suffers, the children pay the price. When mom and dad work, and think about dad coming home one day around the dinner table, looking at mom and the kids, and saying, guess what, kids? I got a job today. And guess what, kids? Tomorrow, we're not eating at home. We're going out to dinner. You see, it just lifts everybody. And our mission in this country and in my state is to get people to work so they can realize their God-given dreams, potentials. That's what it's really all about. And so it's just not just another election. It's an election kind of at the fork of the road. Do we believe in more central control, or do we believe in the power of the individual? Should we run America from the top down, or should we run America from the bottom up? So, you know, whatever family you come, Rand Paul, Rick Santorum, Mitt Romney, doesn't matter. We need to all be together for the good of our children, for the good of our families, for the good of our neighborhood, and for the good of our country. You know, in Ohio, we prove it can work. Get Washington on the right track, and America will take off again. Thank you all very much.